I'm standing in a grocery store aisle, pretending to be fascinated by pasta sauce labels.
But I'm not reading them.
I can't read anything right now because my heart is pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. There's a guy about 3 feet away from me, also looking at pasta sauce, and I have one simple job: say something.
Anything.
My palms are sweating.
My throat feels tight.
I've rehearsed this moment in my head 5 times already, but now that I'm here, every possible opening line sounds absolutely insane. This is day 1 of my 30-day challenge to talk to a stranger every single day. And right now, I'm failing spectacularly. Here's the thing though, by day 30, I'm going to be having conversations with complete strangers that feel easier than texting my friends.
I'm going to look forward to these interactions instead of dreading them. And the shift that makes all of this possible?
It happens on day 17, when I discover something that goes against everything you've ever been told about social skills. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Right now, I'm still staring at marinara sauce, wondering if I'll ever be the kind of person who can just talk to people. 2 weeks before this challenge, I was at a networking event for my industry.
You know the type: name tags, awkward standing around with drinks, people clustering into conversations.
I lasted 12 minutes.
I walked in, grabbed a drink I didn't want, stood near a group that seemed approachable, waited for a gap in their conversation to introduce myself, and then, just couldn't do it.
The gap came. I opened my mouth. Nothing. I smiled like an idiot, pretended I got a text, and left.
While everyone else seemed to effortlessly connect, swap ideas, and make plans for coffee, I was sitting in my car in the parking lot, feeling like a complete failure. But here's what really got me: this wasn't new.
This was a pattern. I'd been avoiding conversations for years. At coffee shops, I'd use the self-checkout to dodge small talk.
At the gym, I'd wear headphones even when I wasn't listening to anything. I convinced myself it was fine: I'm just introverted, I don't need a huge social circle, quality over quantity, right?
Except I was lonely. And I was missing out.
Every day I didn't fix this was another day of missed connections, opportunities, and experiences.
Another day of watching life happen around me instead of participating in it. Another day of strengthening the exact neural pathways that were keeping me stuck.
That night in the parking lot, I realized something had to change.
Not eventually. Not when I felt ready. Now.
Here's what nobody tells you about avoiding social situations: every time you do it, you're not just missing a conversation.
You're literally rewiring your brain to be more afraid next time. There's actual neuroscience behind this.
When you feel anxious about talking to someone and then avoid it, your brain gets a hit of relief. That relief feels good, so your brain marks that avoidance as the correct response.
You've just strengthened the neural pathway that says strangers equal danger, avoidance equals safety. Do this enough times, and it stops being about fear. It becomes about identity. You start telling yourself stories: I'm just an introvert. I don't have the personality for this. I'm not good with people.
And here's the insidious part: you start to believe them.
You're not someone with social anxiety anymore. You're someone who is socially anxious. It's who you are. But let me bust some myths real quick. Myth 1: I'm just an introvert.
Being introverted means you recharge alone, not that you're incapable of connection.
Susan Cain, who literally wrote the book on introversion, talks about meaningful conversation being deeply fulfilling for introverts. Myth 2: strangers don't want to be bothered. Research from behavioral scientist Nicholas Epley shows the exact opposite. In his studies, people consistently underestimate how much strangers enjoy being talked to.
What we think will be awkward, they often find pleasant.
Myth 3: some people are just naturally good at this. No. They've just had more practice and less avoidance. The longer you wait to address this, the stronger the neural pathways of avoidance become.
But here's the flip side: exposure works the same way. Each time you face the fear, you weaken that pathway and strengthen a new one.
The question isn't whether you can change.
It's whether you'll start before the identity becomes permanent. Here's how I set the rules for myself: talk to at least one stranger every single day for 30 days.
But not just any conversation. A qualifying conversation had to go beyond nice weather or can I get a medium coffee?
It had to be something that couldn't be handled by a robot. It had to involve genuine engagement, even if it was just asking a real question or making a sincere comment.
To keep myself accountable, I decided to track every interaction.
After each one, I wrote down what happened, how it felt, and what I learned. Sometimes that was a win, sometimes a lesson in humility.
I started with baby steps.
The first few days were all about low-pressure settings: baristas, cashiers, someone in line. As I built confidence, I'd push further: people on the street, park benches, even starting conversations at social events. My expectation was that the first week would be awkward, but day 30 would be the true test. Turns out, it wasn't the ending that surprised me most. It was something completely unexpected halfway through that flipped the challenge upside down. If you're watching this thinking, maybe I could try it, let me say, you absolutely can. The magic isn't in the rules. It's in sticking to them, tracking your progress, and being honest with yourself about how you feel each time. I thought day 30 would be the hardest. I was completely wrong. Day 1, I walked into my local coffee shop, resolved to speak to the woman in front of me. My hand shook as I forced myself forward. "Hey, that's a cool laptop sticker, where'd you get it?" She smiled, told me her friend designed it, and I exhaled. Total time? Maybe 30 seconds. But it was actual, real contact, and the world didn't end. Every day after that, the jitters showed up. There was the guy at the bus stop who mumbled a response and put his headphones back in. Ouch. My stomach dropped, but I realized, rejection in the real world is barely a blip compared to the all-consuming dread I imagined. People weren't mean. Most were neutral, a few were friendly, and the occasional awkward moment wasn't fatal. I made every rookie mistake in the book. I over-rehearsed openers until they sounded robotic. I picked the worst moments, like approaching people juggling groceries. Sometimes, I defaulted to transactional questions. Do you know what time it is? It didn't feel like growth if the whole thing was just about information. By day 4, I noticed something. If I asked a genuine question connected to the moment, people were way more likely to engage. Like, "I've never tried that pastry, would you recommend it?" Or, "That's a great book, what do you like about it?" Comments plus questions turned out to be my secret formula. People perked up when I noticed something specific and cared enough to ask. Around day 7, I had my breakthrough, which surprised me. I realized it was way easier to ask questions than to make clever statements. I'd spent years thinking I needed to be witty, but people respond best when you give them room to talk about their interests or opinions. The pressure dropped. Suddenly, I started looking for things to be genuinely curious about. I learned to read people's vibe before diving in. The super-focused, "don't mess with me" expression? Maybe not the best target. Relaxed eye contact, open posture, maybe a smile, that's your window. And if someone wasn't feeling it, I learned not to take it personally. A simple, "no worries, have a good day, let me exit gracefully." A pattern emerged. The emotional roller coaster felt real, but so did the small victories. Day 3, a chat with a dog owner at the park led to exchanging quick stories about weird dog quirks. Day 8, a supermarket cashier told me about her upcoming vacation because I genuinely cared enough to ask. By the end of the first 10 days, my terror had dialed down to nervous excitement. I wasn't thriving yet, but I wasn't avoiding either. Each mini conversation built mental reps, and I started to see social skills for what they are, a muscle you can train. Mistakes became lessons, lessons became habits, and habits started to form a new reality. Maybe I could actually do this. Every failed or awkward attempt was just another push-up for my confidence. And with every friendly answer or even neutral nod, my sense of possibility grew. Little by little, I was learning the code for talking to strangers. By day 11, something strange started happening. The panic and adrenaline rushes of the first week weren't showing up every morning. Instead, there was this dull ache of reluctance, a quiet voice whispering, "You're good, you've proved your point. Why keep going?" The novelty had worn off, but nothing felt truly easy. My conversations were happening, but every encounter began to feel like another item on my to-do list. Days 14 through 16 were the hardest. I'd find myself repeating lines or forcing myself into conversations that just didn't feel right. At the grocery store, I complimented someone's shirt, but my words sounded hollow, even to me. At the park, I awkwardly pushed a conversation about someone's dog, but my heart wasn't in it, and the owner sensed it. Forced smiles, polite nods, and then escape. Instead of growing, my confidence felt like it was stalling out, or worse, backtracking. Here's the part almost no one talks about. This plateau phase is where most people quit. Not when it's the most terrifying, but when it becomes boring. I was desperate to break through, but repeating the challenge by pure discipline was quickly sucking the life out of it. Then day 17 happened. I was in line at a bookstore, rehearsing a generic opener in my head, something about the weather, maybe a comment about the long line. I glanced at the guy in front of me, who was leafing through a poetry anthology. For some reason, I just blurted out, "Is that book actually good, or is it one of those everyone pretends to understand?" He laughed out loud, like real laughter, and looked relieved. He said, "Honestly, I have no idea what half of this means. I'm just trying to impress my girlfriend. She's into poetry." We both cracked up. And just like that, the script dropped. For the next 5 minutes, we bonded over all the things we'd both pretended to get in life just to fit in: music, art, even wine. It was real, and it was fun. That's when it hit me. I'd spent weeks performing, trying to act confident, to say the right thing, to be interesting or impressive. But the magic wasn't in the performance. It was in being honestly curious. From that day forward, instead of trying to showcase myself, I started looking for genuine reasons to be interested in the other person. When I asked questions, I listened for answers I actually cared about. If I wasn't truly interested, I didn't fake it. This switch changed everything. Suddenly, even small talk started leading to real moments. I talked to a guy in the park who turned out to be a mural artist. I found myself asking what his favorite project was, and he ended up pulling out his phone to show me photos of his work. We geeked out over street art for nearly 10 minutes. One day, I chatted with an elderly woman at a cafe who was reading a mystery novel I'd always seen but never picked up. I asked what she liked about the author, and she ended up telling me stories about growing up on a farm and escaping into books as a child. I noticed my energy shifting. Instead of feeling drained by pretending, I felt genuinely excited to see what I might learn, or who I might meet, each day. I worried less about seeming weird because everything felt more natural. I was just following my own interests. Was my fear of being that weird person gone? Not completely. But I realized that most people, most of the time, are more relieved to have someone break the ice than suspicious of your motives. If a conversation fizzled or someone wasn't open, it didn't sting the way it did before. My focus had changed. It wasn't about how I was being perceived. It was about exploring the world through conversations, one person at a time. It made me brave enough to get a little more specific and personal. Instead of nice shoes, I'd say, those shoes look like they have a story behind them. What's the wildest place they've ever been? People often lit up, and sometimes, they surprised me with stories I never could have predicted. Looking back, day 17 was the turning point. The real challenge wasn't talking to strangers, it was letting go of my need to impress, and finding genuine curiosity. That shift didn't make every conversation perfect, but it made each one feel worthwhile. And that's when I started seeing why these tiny acts of bravery could actually change not just my social life, but the way I saw myself. By the time I hit day 21, something wild started happening. Talking to strangers wasn't just something I could tolerate, it was something I actually looked forward to. I'd catch myself scanning for those little conversational entry points, like someone's interesting pin, a dog's funny name tag, or even just the way someone ordered their coffee. The mechanics that felt rigid and intimidating in week 1 now felt almost effortless. A big moment came on day 22. I recognized my regular barista and, instead of just making an offhand comment, I asked what her go-to comfort movie was. That one question spiraled into a 15-minute conversation about nostalgia, childhood favorites, and how rewatching old movies is a way to unwind. The next time I came in, she greeted me by name. We weren't just customer and barista anymore, we were friends. It happened again in the park. I ran into an elderly man who was sketching pigeons on a bench. Curious, I started chatting and asked how long he'd been an artist. He shared stories that spanned decades, from painting murals in his hometown in his 20s, to how art helped him cope with losing his wife. He said, "You don't realize how much people want to talk until someone actually asks." That line stuck with me. By day 25, my whole mindset around these interactions had transformed. Instead of feeling like I was imposing, I saw the exchanges as mutual gifts, tiny shared windows of curiosity. Fear had been replaced not just by comfort, but by excitement to discover something I wouldn't have learned otherwise. Body language, which I was hyper-aware of, usually in a negative way, became relaxed and open. I held eye contact without second-guessing or darting away. I noticed how people's shoulders dropped or smiles grew when genuine interest was there. That awareness made me more tuned in, not just in these challenges, but everywhere: work meetings, video calls, even with my family. Day 28 was my flow state day. I stopped to ask a woman in the park about a camera she was using. She responded so enthusiastically about her hobby that the conversation just snowballed. We bounced from photography to travel to books, completely losing track of time. When we parted ways, it hit me, this felt like chatting with someone I'd known for years, not a stranger I'd just met. There were other, unexpected benefits too. I realized I was checking my phone less, not zombie scrolling through social media for connection or validation. I started feeling more present, just noticing people around me and what was happening in the moment. It was like the background static of social anxiety had finally quieted down, giving me space to experience things as they happened. The craziest part? My confidence didn't just grow in conversations with strangers. It infected everything. I found myself speaking up more at work, initiating plans with friends, even just holding myself differently when I walked into a room. The little voice in my head echoing day one self-doubt started sounding faint and distant. When the challenge ended, I didn't want to stop. The first day, I'd looked at strangers as obstacles, as tests to survive. By day 30, every person was a potential story, a perspective, a tiny adventure. I'd become the kind of person I used to envy, the one who strikes up conversations easily, never fearing awkward silence or a missed opportunity. And that version of me feels more real than ever before. Here's the wild thing: the changes I felt weren't just in my imagination. There's real science behind why talking to strangers got easier, and it has everything to do with how our brains work. This whole challenge was basically exposure therapy in action. Every time I walked up to someone, my brain expected the worst: rejection, embarrassment, maybe even humiliation. But when that didn't happen, or when it happened and turned out to be no big deal, my brain started to update its danger signals. This is called fear extinction. The old, conditioned responses begin to fade as the new, positive experiences stack up. Neuroplasticity is the reason this works. Our brains are literally designed to rewire themselves with repetition. Every new conversation helped rewrite the story I told myself about social interactions. Instead of strangers are scary, it slowly became strangers are potential connections. Progressive exposure is key here. Research shows that gradual challenges, starting small, then ramping up, are far more effective than diving into the deep end or avoiding discomfort altogether. That's why I didn't start by giving a speech to a crowd. I started by asking someone about a pastry. As I succeeded, the confidence didn't just stay in one area. Studies even show that as social confidence grows, it spills over into other life domains. Add to that the dopamine hit from positive moments, like when someone smiled or shared a genuine story, and you get positive reinforcement that keeps the loop going. These aren't just my results. Researchers have shown social connection is one of the biggest predictors of happiness and resilience. If it worked for my stubborn, anxious brain, it can work for anyone willing to try. If you're ready to try this yourself, here's the roadmap I wish I'd had, broken into 3 levels, so you don't get overwhelmed or discouraged. Start with beginner moves, transactional plus conversations. That means when you're buying coffee or checking out at a store, add something real. For example, out of curiosity, what's your personal favorite on the menu, or I saw you're reading that book, would you recommend it? Once you're comfortable, step up to intermediate, situational openers. Look for chances to talk to people waiting in lines, at events, or on public transport. You might say, "This line is taking forever, have you been here before?" Or "I noticed your lanyard, are you from around here?" The trick is to observe something immediate and use it as your entry point. Advanced mode is where you approach someone not because you have to, but because you want to connect. Sit next to someone at a park or a networking event and simply say, "Hey, I'm trying to be a little braver about starting conversations, mind if I ask how your day's going?" That honest admission builds trust fast. For every level, keep these tips in mind. Read the room by looking for open body language, gentle eye contact, or someone not buried in their phone. The 2-minute rule became my secret weapon. Aim to stick with the conversation for at least 2 minutes, which is enough time for it to move past the initial awkward stage and into something real. If you sense someone isn't receptive, don't sweat it. A graceful exit sounds like, "No worries, have a great day." Remember, a single bland or weird encounter doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Here's the curiosity framework that kept my conversations flowing. Notice something, comment on it, then ask an open-ended question. For example, "That's a cool pin, does it have a story?" People respond to genuine curiosity more than perfect phrasing. Biggest fears? Feeling out of place, getting ignored, or running out of things to say. The answer to all of them: remind yourself you're practicing. Every try counts. And get support. Invite a friend to try it with you, compare notes, or even text each other after successful, or failed, attempts. Starting today versus starting next month makes a measurable difference. If you commit, even for just a week, you'll be amazed at how quickly your comfort zone expands. The script doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. Looking back, the biggest change wasn't just talking to strangers with ease, it was seeing myself differently. I started this challenge as someone stuck in fear and self-doubt, always wondering what might happen if I tried. By day 30, I felt lighter, more open, and genuinely at home in my own skin. No, I didn't become a flawless social butterfly, but I proved to myself that confidence isn't something you're born with. It's built, conversation by conversation. If you're even a little bit curious about how this could change you, try it for just 1 week. Talk to one new person every day for 7 days, even if it's just a small exchange, and see if you're not a little bit bolder by the end. Drop your day 1 story in the comments, or make your commitment public right here. Remember, every confident person you see started with a single, shaky step. The connections, new experiences, and opportunities you want are out there, all you have to do is start.